and welcome back to Over the Next Hill Fitness Podcast. I'm Carla Coffey, your coach and host for the today's program. This program is sponsored by Coffee Crew Coaching. If you need a fitness coach, I am available mostly online right now. My in-person is pretty booked up. Thank you, all of my athletes. I appreciate that. But I still do have a little bit of room for an online coaching. If that's something you're interested in, please look me up or email me, carla@coffeecrewcoaching.com. You can follow me on YouTube, and you also can follow me, obviously, on this podcast as well as on Facebook. So I do appreciate you to give me 5 stars, a great 5-star rating. That would be awesome. And again, you can reach out to me at any time at carla@coffeecrewcoaching.com. Today, I'm going to be talking to Andy Chaffee. We had such a good time on the recording, but not only on the recording, I met Andy at the Huron 100 and found out during this taping how long we actually ran together, because clearly I was in another running world. So I hope you'll enjoy this episode, and we will see you at the end. Okay. Welcome to the show, Andy. It's so great to have you here and good to see your face again.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
So you and I met during the Huron 100. And
Right.
I don't even know what mile, but we got to talking, and you had some great things in store for the rest of the year, because that was in June
Right.
of 2025. We're not going to start there. I want to back up a little bit and start like when you started running, why you started running, how long, whatever, were you a track star? So tell us all about Andy.
Yeah. So I grew up in Michigan. I'm currently located in Southeast Michigan, just east of Detroit. But I grew up in a family of nerds, I would say. Both my parents met in the marching band in college. So if that tells you a little bit about it, my dad was a music major and was a band director and then a principal for a long time at an elementary school. And so I was the odd one in the family. My sister's an artist and everything as well. And I was the one who was always interested in sports. My dad used to take me to U of M football games to watch the halftime marching band show. And
so
then
it wasn't to watch the football game.
Exactly. I got to watch football, and then he got to watch the marching band at the halftime. And so,
Gotcha.
but we had just moved into a new town called Clarkston, Michigan, and they had a fall festival where they'd open up downtown and have a bunch of like food vendors from the local community. This was pre-food trucks, if you can imagine a time before food trucks. But they had a little race, and my parents were like, "Well, you're an athlete, you want to run?" And I was, I think I was about 8 years old at the time, and so I went and did the 5K. I have no idea what my time was. I want to say I was right just under 30 minutes or something like that, and I won my age group, which I think was because I was the only one in my age group. And then we had barbecue at one of the food vendors afterwards, and I got really sick. And so that was my first introduction to running back when I was 8. And then they had, different track programs for getting kids involved where I live. So Hershey Track and Field, which is like a national program. Kids can run, and then they have a national championship over in Hershey, Pennsylvania that you can do all through elementary school.
Before you continue,
Yeah.
Did you run that alone, or did one of your parents run with you for that first?
I ran it by myself.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think back to those things now that I have kids. I have a 7.5-year-old son who he just did his first 5K at the Turkey Trot in downtown Detroit. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, like, they let me run all by myself for that whole distance with just people standing on the side of the road to tell me which direction I was supposed to go and everything like that. So but yeah, no, I was always on the smaller side. I didn't break 5 foot or 100 pounds until high school. And so I went out 6th grade. I went out to join the football team, and the football coach looked at me and pointed to the other side of the field and said, "Cross country practice is over there." And so I joined cross country and started running ever since then. I was always on the running team ever since then. So I ran all through middle school, high school, and then I ran in college as well. I ran down at a really small university in Ohio called Bluffton, which is where I met my wife. And then we moved to South Carolina for a while I did grad school, and I completely stopped running.
Oh,
Um, so this was 2014. I completely stopped working out and running in general. Prior to that, after college, I had done a couple Ironmans, and so got into triathlons and everything like that for a little while, and then just stopped at cold turkey. Grad school was next level of stress for me.
yeah.
Um, and it just completely interrupted my life in terms of any fitness I had. And so fast forward about 4 years, and I had blossomed to a hefty like 215 pounds on a 5'8", 5'9" on a good day frame. And my wife and I had started a career up here back in Michigan, and we just welcomed our firstborn, which was our son, and we were getting newborn pictures taken. And I saw myself in the newborn pictures, and I was like, that doesn't even look like me, like my mental image of who I am as a person. And I told my wife at that point, I was like, all right, I'm doing another Ironman next year. And I was way overweight, hadn't ran a step in years, and found a local coach who I still train with actually today.
Nice.
I've been with him since 2018. And he signed on board with me for what my goals were. And I started doing Ironmans again, and then uh, got into ultra running in 2023.
Okay. And then,
Yeah.
so what was your first ultra?
The Indiana Trail 100.
Okay.
So I had done an Ironman Lake Placid in the summer of 2023, and I finished. And my wife looked at me and she goes, "Do you even have fun with these anymore?" And I'd gotten really comfortable with Ironmans. I'd gotten to a point where getting to the starting line, I never had a fear of not finishing. It was
Mm,
just a matter of if the day was going to go well for me and I was going to get a good time, or if I was going to suffer through some setbacks to the finish or something like that.
okay.
And she's like, "Are you even having fun?" Because that was kind of the appeal of Ironmans in the past, was getting to the start line and having those butterflies of is am I going to make it to the finish line today, kind of a thing. And so that was July of 23, and I signed up to do Indiana Trail 100 in August of 23, and the race was in October.
Okay.
And I'd never run more than a marathon by itself. I had done Ironmans, obviously, which are, anywhere from 12 to 16-hour races, depending on the course.
Right.
And just dove headfirst into it. And I was signing up, and I was like, oh, I could do a 50. And then I said, well, 50 is not that much longer than an Ironman in terms of time. So they had a 75-mile option. I was looking at the 75, and I was like, I could do a 75. And I go, well, if I'm going to do 75, I might as well sign up for the 100. And
Clearly,
so
that's the logical thing to think.
exactly. So I signed up, went out there, and I took a stab at my first ultra. It's a amazing race if you've never been out there.
I haven't.
It's been around for, I want to say, like 20 years or something, 20 plus years. Um, it's four loops of 25 miles all within a state park that's there. And it rained for 18 hours before the race,
Okay.
and then it rained for the first 12 hours of the race. And
Well, that
so
sounds like ideal climate.
yeah. So the race was, rainy, and I want to say maybe low 40s the entire race. And I got out there, and it was just a mud fest, just absolute mud fest. Just I threw away my shoes after that race. I took them off after I DNF'd. I should say that's the first race I've ever DNF'd.
Okay.
And I dropped out at 75 miles. I finished the third loop, had another loop, and I had about 12 hours to do that last loop. And just looked at it and was like, I don't want to do the last loop in these conditions. my quads were also locking up and stuff, and I was just done.
Okay.
But yeah, I finished, took my shoes off, and threw them straight in the trash. There was no saving those after that.
Yeah.
But
That sounds like some good wisdom. Was that uh I mean honestly, and you have to analyze it like overall, because you could have probably finished, but
mhm.
if you're not having fun and you're feeling, the weather's crappy and your legs are feeling tight, that was a smart decision. Did your coach have anything to do with that decision, or was that just you?
No, no. So my coach, he doesn't come to most of my races or anything. I really just use him for programming and, asking for knowledge, especially around nutrition. He's been extremely helpful in terms of me understanding nutrition. I, I'll be the first one to admit that I am terrible about food. I love good food. And so, for example, the very first marathon I ever did, I graduated high school and I decided I was going to run a marathon between going to college that summer. And my nutrition plan was a sleeve of Oreos. So every, like 5 miles or so, I'd eat about 3 Oreos, and that was my nutrition plan for the marathon. Um,
Now, this must have been before you had a coach.
This was yeah. I was 18 at the time, yeah.
Okay.
So, but the problem is I kind of carried that mentality through. I've always just been able to brute force my way through things. That first ultra marathon, I think I had 7 or 8 grilled cheese sandwiches, a few cheese quesadillas, maybe a burrito, and just all sorts of solids and like junk Mountain Dew all the time. Unfortunately I still do Mountain Dew a lot on the race course. Um, Chicken broth, ramen noodles with mashed potatoes and hot sauce in it. So I was just literally every time I got an aid station, I was just eating whatever they had. So I have no idea on that stuff, and so my coach really has helped me hone in on what I'm actually supposed to be doing with nutrition in terms of during race day and things like that. The problem for me is not race day anymore. It's now every day at home when I'm eating garbage on top of that. So
But you need the calories, right? So,
Mhm. Exactly. I probably shouldn't be using Taco Bell for those calories.
yeah, probably not. Well, maybe before race day. I can't imagine eating Taco Bell during the race. That would be too much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even the race that we did together, I had we ran so we picked each other up around mile 20, I want to say.
Okay.
And then we ran together until about mile 50.
Did we?
I don't yeah, yeah. Yeah, we talked the entire way. Um I kind of count that as like a home field advantage course for me because it's where I do a ton of my training, and actually you and I ran the section of the course that I do all of my trail training on.
Oh, okay.
And so it's the Potawatomi Trail here in southeastern Michigan. It's a great 18-mile loop, and I'm pretty sure I had a Qdoba burrito and some Wendy's burgers during that time frame when we were running together. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't realize was that long of a time span. So it must have went by fairly quickly. I just
yeah,
remember, so I found out later that I had missed my headlamp pickup. So remember, we used just yours coming into that
we
aid
did.
station
Yes.
because I didn't have mine and I had missed it. I thought it was at one aid station and it was way, yeah. So I did that on my next one as well. But I got the headlamp back at the end, but totally spaced where I had left it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so so it was, but wow, that was a long time that we chatted. That went by a lot of hours. I had
You
no
think you
idea.
run out of stuff during that time frame, but I'm pretty sure we talked the entire time.
Yeah, I can't believe I ran out of stuff to say, but yeah, I'm glad it wasn't just about me.
There you go.
So between the Indiana and the Huron, did you do another ultra in there?
Yeah. So actually, yeah, yes. So I did the Indiana Trail, the first one that was in the fall of 2023.
Hmm.
I didn't finish it, and uh, it was the first DNF that I've ever had. And so obviously my brain goes to, well, I have to go back and do that one now. And
Absolutely.
so fall of 24, I went and did that one. Um, uh, and got the finish for my first 100 mile finish.
Great.
I did do a 50-miler tune-up race about a month and a half before that race, as well at Woodstock Festival races. That's
Oh,
also
yeah.
here in southeastern Michigan.
Hmm.
It's got the Hallucination 100 in it, but they've got a 50-mile option, and I did that as a tune-up race.
Okay.
I was messing around with nutrition all the way up to the 50-mile, and it did not go well at the 50-miler. I remember, and uh, uh, got really anxious that like things had gone so poorly at that 50-mile.
Yeah.
And I had about a month and a half before this 100 that was kind of my redemption 100, and was able to get across the finish line. That was a tough race. Fall of 24 Indiana Trail. I walked probably about the last 40 miles of the race.
Straight
Um,
walking. That's it.
just straight walking. Couldn't get my legs to respond anymore for some
Wow.
reason. And but I had DNF'd the year before at 75 with so much time remaining that I realized, I could just walk this.
Okay.
Um, and so I got that finish done, and then I met you at Huron the next spring, or well, late spring in June. And one of my buddies, it's funny. I started doing these races, and then people have come out of the woodwork that also do them around me. And so
Wow.
there's two other folks that work with me that turns out they were doing trail runs and didn't realize ultras were an option. And so now we've done two of them together. Um, and so he dragged me to Huron, and as an early season one, because he wanted to get, 300 or 400s in last year. And I was like, I'll do two. And so we went out to Huron, and that was a fun race, but a tough race. He ended up DNFing, and I think I was running with you when we actually caught back up to him, because
Oh,
we have
yeah.
a relationship, he and I, where he runs really, really fast for the first 30 miles, and then I catch him. And
Remember that.
then, and so he was in a rough shape. He ended up getting back out onto the course and got to 83 before the time cutoffs got him. But
Oh,
he spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours at one of the aid stations at mile 35, I want to say,
yikes.
um, which was a little tough. But uh, uh, so yeah, that was Huron was my third attempt at 100, my second finish at 100.
Okay.
And then I went back again to Indiana Trail again this past year. I had, DNF'd the first year. I had ran, I think, like 29 hours the next year because I walked the last 40 miles. And I wanted to put a good effort in, and actually, I knew the course like the back of my hand, having been there 4 years in a row now, and was able to really have a solid day, and feel like I actually understanding this whole 100-mile thing now, and
For you, right?
and was able to get a time right around 25 hours this time. So
Nice.
so I dropped about 4 hours off my time from last year.
Great. So you did that just prior to running again in June when I met you?
No, I had
Oh,
done that this past fall, so after
oh,
June.
okay.
Yep.
After the June. Okay.
Yep.
So that must have been where I got the crazy idea that I could do two in a year because I did the Wolverine in October
Mm,
and it was an inaugural year.
yeah.
And I thought, that must have been you. I'm blaming you for that. And if you've got them, like you feel like you understand them, you need to be coaching me instead of me being the coach because I don't have a
The,
stinking clue.
and that's something that's interesting, like I'll say I understand them, but it's really I'm understanding what my body needs for it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've gotten to a really interesting point in my running, especially for ultra endurance running, that um, I can tell when things are going wrong well in advance of them going wrong now.
Hmm. Good.
Um, and I've experimented enough with things going wrong that I know how to fix them. I always tell people that these long endurance races are really just an entire day of crisis management.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just constantly, okay, let me do a check-in. I'm checking all the systems, this check light is on, but is it really something I need to fix right now? If I don't, is three other check lights coming on later or anything like that? And my coach always tells me, what you do right now is going to impact you in 2 hours. And
Yeah.
so that is sort of the direction I've leaned into, and it unfortunately, what that has done also, though, is that as I get closer to the end of the race and I only have 2 hours left, I start completely throwing everything out the window, because if I only have 2 hours left, it doesn't matter at that point, right? Um,
Yeah. You know
uh,
what we always say too, me and another friend that I run with, and she does a lot of marathons, is it's really an eating fest. It's who can
mm,
get in the most food and keep it down, because that's what you need, is that solid food. And if you can't train your stomach, the other training really doesn't matter.
yeah, yep, and it's really interesting too, because I have found that gels don't necessarily work for me,
No,
right? I had
not
almost exclusively used them during my Ironmans,
sure.
because that's, back when I was doing Ironmans, that was the predominant way to fuel during those races.
Hmm.
Everyone was using gels and things.
Hmm.
They're easy to carry, easy to suck down on the bike and things like that.
Yep.
The whole change moving to liquid nutrition for high carb drinks and things like that has really changed how I've viewed nutrition now. So I use a 90 calorie or 90 carb per bottle nutrition now,
Which one do you
and
use?
it's called Never Second.
Oh, okay. Haven't heard of that
So
one.
my coach helped work with them in terms of their design of the product and things like that, and so
Nice.
he clued them into me. It's a really easy thing to drink. It's just water with a little bit of this powder in it.
Hmm.
It's got a little bit of a chalky taste to it at times, but honestly, as far as some of these high carb drinks has gone, it's the easiest one for me to stomach. It's got a
Okay.
very neutral palate too, which is something that is important, because there were times where I would get so sick and tired of the really sugary, like
Absolutely.
raspberry and
Yeah.
strawberry lime flavors, and I just couldn't bear them.
Hmm.
Um, we were doing that here on 100, and I don't know about you, but my watch had it at 104.3 miles or something like that.
Well, of course, mine quit at like mile 57 or something stupid, and my headlights went out during in the woods, and so I was in there for like 5 hours with my phone trying to navigate. So yeah, I had
So,
nothing
but
happening good.
I was out there for a little over 30 hours for that race, and I was still able to take that nutrition. It,
That's
it
great.
did not bother my stomach at all. Now, that's not going to satisfy you. I can usually go about 4 to 6 hours on that liquid nutrition by itself, and then all of a sudden I'm not feeling like I'm bonking, but my stomach feels empty.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I need the solids still. I have to
Yeah.
have the solids. And so that's when you get the Qdoba burritos and the Wendy's burgers and things like that going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 30 hours is, you need a meal. You can't
Yes.
just be on liquids at that point. So, I don't know if you recall my daughter-in-law, she paced me. I picked her up when I dropped you after the
Yep.
headlight thing at that aid station, and we kind of split up there. And so, but we saw you periodically. And, she told me, like, I don't know what I was doing, if I had swapped out uh, pacers or what, but she was there and I wasn't. And she said that you told your wife, I just want a hamburger for my pocket, because she wanted you to do something. I don't know what it was. And we still laugh about that. And she actually said that because I interviewed her about a
There
race
you
that she had done.
go.
And she said, and I remember that guy you ran with, Andy, and he said he just wants a hamburger. And she said you just kind of sounded so defeated to your wife. And I remember seeing your wife, throughout the different pace aid stations. And she said you just hung your head. I just want a hamburger for my
Well,
pocket.
and I'll say that I probably definitely said that. I don't remember at this point,
Okay.
but um, I think it might be a different direction than what she thinks it was, which is I think she might have thought that I was just really hungry and I wanted a hamburger to carry with me.
Uh-huh.
It was probably the exact opposite. And my wife, who is like my lead crew person
Mm-hmm.
and knows how these races are going for me, even though she's not necessarily a runner herself, we've been married for, oh gosh, a little over 13 years now. And she's done all these, she's been with me through all my Ironmans, she's been with me through all of the ultras. So that was her saying, you need to eat. You're not eating. Why
Mm-hmm.
aren't you eating? You're going to stay here until you eat this. And me probably trying to compromise and say, just put the hamburger in my pocket and I'll eat
Right.
it while I'm out there.
Probably so. Yeah. Yeah. I find
So,
that was just funny. Um, so so when I did the Wolverine, I
mm,
got to mile 50 and ran most of it myself until nighttime, and I had a night pacer. But at 50, so speaking about your wife and how she's been there, my husband has been just a trooper through all of my marathons. I did all 50 states, and now I'm doing these hundreds. He's my crew chief, and he just does such a remarkable thing. I walked up to him at mile 50, and he was getting stuff to put in my pack and everything, and I said, I think I'm done. I
mm,
just need to be done. He said, nope, you're fine. Here's your stuff. And he's like, get back out there. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. I really I just want to be done. He says, no, you don't. Just keep
yeah.
going. And I was like, crap, I really was serious. And he made me go. And, afterwards, I was very thankful. And I thanked him for it because I really didn't have, nothing hurt. I just was tired,
Mm,
it was it was hard like Huron, or if
yeah.
not, it was almost as hard as Huron, and I
Yeah.
was just tired, and plus it was my second one. I'm a little older than you, so to do two within 6 months of each other, because one was June, one was October, that's a lot for an old lady, but
Um,
I did it, I finished it, and
Good.
but yeah, so our spouses are just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I have been solo in my running and endurance training and the activities that I do so long that I've surrounded myself in terms of a crew with a bunch of non-runners and non-endurance athletes actually, and so um, uh, I have a really core group of best friends from my undergraduate time, and they're always asking, what are your race schedule? What's your race schedule? And they'll come out there and they have no idea what's going on. They're just out there to be with each
Mhm.
other and also support me and everything. And you got my wife and my parents, which my parents have been around me since I was 8 doing these things, and they're still tell us what we need to know and what we need to do. My very first cross country race in middle school, my dad came up and said, I don't know how to cheer for you. I
Oh.
don't know what to do. And so I said, just count what place I'm in and tell me. And so, you got people yelling out time splits and everything. My dad's over there. He's like 13, 14, 13, and stuff like that. And all these parents are like looking at him like, what is he doing? Is this like code? What is going?
Right.
He's just telling me what place I'm in. And he's done that forever throughout my collegiate cross country and high school and middle school and everything. And it's funny. I've surrounded my people with non-runner or surrounded myself with non-runners to do all of these races. And what that does is um, they don't know if things are going bad, but they're just always positive about what's
Yeah.
going on. And so my wife is probably the only one who can really tell when things are not going well.
Yeah.
And she'll pull me off to the side and be like, okay, what is happening? What do we need to do? And game planning. That first year when I DNF'd at the Indiana Trail 100, the way they have it set up is you come through the start finish line and you have to check in it with your bib to start to go out to your next one right after you come in. And it's a little bit of a little cruel thing because you can check in and then immediately DNF yourself. And so
Hmm.
that's what I had done at the 75-mile mark that first year. As I went, I checked in before I even said to my hi to my family, and I DNF'd myself. And I told my wife before the next year when I was going back to try and get redemption, I said, don't let me talk to those people. And so she had like positioned herself the next year to be much closer to where I was coming through the start finish. And she'd immediately grab me and say, "This is bib number so and so. He's going into the tent now." And so she wouldn't even give me the option of doing it then.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and so, yeah, you have those people that know, like, all right, what are the limits and everything. I've got a group of friends now that are starting to run, and they want to come out and pace me. And it's funny, it's almost like I have to do these pacer interviews of, all right, so how do I do pacing? Because none of them have done it before, and they have no idea.
Yeah.
Just run with me,
Yep.
distract me,
Yep.
stuff like that. But also, um, they ask, well, how hard are you going to push yourself? Like when should I be concerned on that stuff? And I go, you know what? I will know when it's time to drop. There's a difference between being hurt and there's a difference between hurting.
Yeah.
And unless I am hurt, we're not stopping, kind of a thing,
Yep.
is usually the direction I go.
Yeah. Yeah. For my first one, I didn't know what I was doing, and I just told my pacers, I said, if I fall and break my finger, I don't need my finger to run. Re-strategize, you get me back out running, because I mean, honestly, if you have a broken finger, now if I broke a leg, maybe I'd probably stop. But yes, I know. And it, until you're in that position, you really don't know what you don't know. And you don't know, like, to me it's like, well, we just keep going. If I'm throwing up, I just try to keep things down or whatever, and which I
Yeah.
haven't ever had that happen yet, but thank goodness. But yeah, and you don't know what to tell them. Just stay with me. I don't know, talk to me, tell me stories. Just I don't know, if you run fast, I guess I run fast. And my nephew I had with me, was he in that one? Yeah, I think he was. We got lost so many times because he'd bolt out of the woods and I'd just follow him. And then pretty soon I'm like, have you seen any markers? And he's like, no.
Oh,
We turn around, go all the way back, have to find a marker. We went the wrong way. But he's fast. And that was like my
mm,
fastest section was running with him. I'm like, all right. And then he paced me for Wolverine too. And I said,
okay.
okay, you got to slow down this time. I cannot try to keep up with you.
There you
So yeah,
go.
but you don't know. How do you interview them? I don't know. I just tell people, just bring food and talk to me. I don't know.
Right. But
That's
yeah,
all.
I've had people ask, what kind of music do you want and stuff like that. I'll play DJ and everything. And the funniest thing is I don't listen to music when I run. I've gotten really into listening to audiobooks while I run.
Oh. Hmm.
And so, more often than not, if I'm out on the trail, I'm lost in some, sci-fi fantasy world of a book that I'm listening to, as opposed to, listening or jamming out to some music. And so, like this past year at Indiana Trail, I ran the first 75 by myself before picking up a pacer, and I was all excited. I had a book that I really wanted to listen to. I was saving it for the race, and I wasn't going to listen to it before I got there. And when things got hard, I threw the book on at around mile 50, and then unfortunately my headphones died about 2 hours into it.
Of course they did.
Exactly. And so I only got like 2 hours of the book in, and then I picked up my pacer, and we just chatted the whole time. I was hurting at that point and really moving hard, but he was doing a great job in helping me out. And one of the best things was he could just look ahead, and say like, hey, there's a little hill. We're going to walk this section, or
Nice.
this is a good time for you to jog, kind of a thing. Because I was just focused 2 feet in front of me, not paying attention if we were going up a hill or sideways or
Yeah.
anything at that point.
Yeah. So what do you got next? What's coming up? Are you doing the Huron again?
I don't think I'm going to do Huron again, but my buddy who didn't finish last year is going to, and so I'll probably be out there pacing.
Awesome.
Um, I, he's had a few races that he hasn't finished, and so I've last year I went back with him to one of them and helped him finish it. And then this year I'm coming back to Huron with him to help him finish that one. So I'll probably do the last 50 with him if he lets me, or if he wants someone else to do a portion, I'll do that. But I I've crewed for him a few times. I really enjoy crewing. It's a good time, uh, especially giving back in the way that I usually require people to do it to me. So um, the only thing that I actually have on my schedule for 2026 so far is I'm going to do a road marathon.
Okay.
I have not run a standalone road marathon since 2010.
Wow. What one are you
Uh,
doing?
so I think I'm going to go down to Carmel, Indiana, and do the Carmel Marathon down there. And so I haven't done any sort of speed work or anything in probably 3 years. I live in zone two. My coach my coach messaged me when I said, okay, I'm on board for a road marathon. He said, you know, you're going to actually have to do the speed workouts that I programmed for you. And I go, I know I have to.
Well, not technically. You don't, or
Yeah.
unless you plan on really racing the marathon, you can stay in zone two.
Yeah, I'd like to put down a decent time. You know, he wants me to put a good time down. I'm not trying to Boston qualify or anything like that, but I would like to see something that's maybe south of 3 hours and 30 minutes,
Wow.
just to put that out there and know that I can still do that kind of a thing. Um, the last open marathon I did was when I was living in Northern Ireland, and so I went and did the Dublin Marathon. Um, but I was a international student at the time, living an international student life, and my training consisted of um, 2 7-mile runs a week and then a long run on the weekend. And so I went to Dublin Marathon. I think I ran 3 hours and 20 minutes there, and then my parents had come, and we were going to go drive around the countryside of Ireland with them. And so I immediately finished, and then hopped into a car and went went and toured Ireland afterwards. And so,
Oh,
um, but
that
yeah,
motivated.
it's been 16 years since I've done an open marathon. I'm going to do that one, and that'll be late April. And then I'm going to pace at Huron again
Okay.
for my friend Jason, and then I have another buddy who is doing not a buddy, but another coworker who actually works for Jason at the same company that I work at, and he is doing the Midwest Grand Slam
What is that?
of ultras, and so
Because
there's
weren't you going to do that? Is that
I was,
okay?
yeah. And then I ended up running a section with someone who was doing it at Indiana Trail, and she goes, "Do not do this." And so I
See, now
decided
she's
not
the
to.
friend to have.
Yeah. And so it is, you can do the Grand Slam or the Super Slam of Midwest Ultras. And it's either 4 or 5 100 mile ultra marathons across the Midwest that start right around Memorial Day weekend with Mohican 100, and then ends at Indiana Trail in October. And so you have 4 or 5 races in a matter of 5ish months to do. And so he's doing that. And so I've told him, when available, I'll come and crew and pace you as well. Throughout that, the races are let me get this right: Mohican 100, Kettle which is over in Wisconsin, I
Oh
think.
yeah, that's here.
That's the second one. It's actually about a week. I think it's a week or 2 weeks after Mohican. So you only have like 2 weeks of recovery.
Oof.
Um, and then Burning River in Ohio.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
It's I think it's in the Columbus area, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's more Dayton area. Um, and then Hallucination 100, which is here in southeastern Michigan at Woodstock Festival, and then Indiana Trail
Okay.
100. And so he's doing that. I'll probably crew and pace for a handful if I can to those. I looked at Wolverine actually as a race to do this
Mm-hmm.
next October. I'm not going back to Indiana Trail. I've done it 4 years in a row now. I don't think I'm going to do that one again. But Wolverine looked really appealing in the point to point. I enjoyed the point to point aspect of Huron 100,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I also enjoy knowing where I am on the course. And so I think, when we ran together, it was the section of the course that I actually knew because that's where I always train. And so it felt really great when we were running together. It was after that I was really struggling.
Yeah.
Um, and then Indiana Trail, I know so well because I've done it so many times. But yeah, Wolverine is one that's on my short list of maybes to do also.
Yeah. So when my very first 100 started in the Mission Point of Michigan, it's like over here, and we ran
Hmm.
down along the bay and up to Petoskey.
Oh,
It started or it ended in the park where the Wolverine starts.
oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. Um, what else was interesting was you end in another park across the state, right, in Alpena.
Hmm.
And what they don't tell you is that 100 miles is 2 miles from the finish line because you have to run. They want you to run all the way to the next park, which is two
Mm.
more miles down the road. So when I hit 100 miles, I'm like, where's the finish line? And so when I crossed the finish line, and he said, here comes Carla Norton. She's getting ready to, she's crossing over the 100 miles. And I shouted in this angriest voice, 102. I was so angry that it was an extra 2 miles. I'm like, you guys could have stopped back at the school. At the
Right.
school was 100 miles. Like, well, we wanted it park to park. Well, okay, whatever. But
And
yeah,
and that was my only complaint with Huron was and it was interesting. All of their aid stations were right on point, like right on the markers that they had said. And then it was right when it got dark that all of a sudden that stopped being the case. And so
because it was
I'm
dark,
sitting
they
there
didn't have to
looking.
show you.
I was running by myself. It's pitch black outside. We were in Brighton recreational area, and that I don't know if you remember that section of the course, but it was just zigzags. It was just
Yes.
zigzags like crazy. So you
That's
felt
where
like
I
you weren't
didn't
going
have a,
anywhere.
yeah, I had a, just my phone at that point.
Yeah, and the
Had to record.
craziest thing for me was I didn't see any. You and I, we left each other around mile 50. You were taking a little bit longer time, and you were picking up your daughter-in-law, I think it was, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and so I left, and from that point until probably mile 78, so almost like 28 miles worth of running, through the night, I didn't see a single person.
Hmm.
I didn't pass anyone. I didn't get passed on by anyone. I was doing a lot of like, am I on the right course?
Yeah.
Like, where is everything? But that zigzag section, I could see headlamps on either side of
Yes.
me the entire time.
Yes.
And
I
I'm like,
could too.
I was, which way am I even going? Am I getting closer to the people on my right? Am I getting closer to the people on my left? Are the people on my left behind me? What's going on?
Yeah,
And
it was so bizarre.
I remember there was an aid station that was supposed to be at mile 68, and it wasn't. I didn't get there until mile 72.
I
And
guess I'm glad that my watch was stopped.
I was livid. I probably spent a solid 45 minutes at that aid station just like moaning and complaining to my wife and my dad and my one of my close friends, Seth. And I went down to they had like a bathroom area, and I went down and I did a complete change of clothes at that point. I was just trying to do anything to get like refresh my mindset. And I was so mad that it was
Yeah.
it was another 4 miles at that point. That was my only complaint about the race was it was about 104.5 miles or something like that.
Wow.
Which, when you think about it, when you're moving that slow at the end, that's an extra hour of being on the course.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we were so long in the woods. My daughter pulled it up on her little section because she was with me that whole time, and she said we entered here, and this is where she said it was 5 hours we were in the
Yeah.
woods, and it was because my headlamp had stopped, and
Hmm.
all I had was a phone, and her lights were dim, and I said, well, you lead and I'll just follow. And so I couldn't run because I couldn't see. So I'm going back this year to try to get a better time. That was
Okay.
I wonder, I must have passed you at that point when you were complaining because
Yeah.
somehow I got ahead of you,
You
because
did, yeah.
yeah, I don't know
Um,
how that happened. That had to be
I
retrace.
I had some pretty bad blistering going on that
Oh,
the med people at the aid station were taking care of, and I saw you come in and leave before I left.
oh, okay. All right.
Hmm.
How much did you complain at mile 80 when you saw that stinking sand dune? I was livid. And when I got to the finish line, I said, whose bright idea was that? I just
Yeah.
wanted to punch that guy right in the throat. I was like, are you kidding me?
I had picked up my pacer at that point, and a really awesome guy named Ved, really interesting dude. He had done Ironmans with me for a while. My pacer for the race, unfortunately, his one of his kids had gotten sick right
Oh,
before the race, and so he dropped out. And I called Ved literally the day before the race, saying, "I need a pacer. Can you
oh,
pace for me?" And he hopped on it right away. And he came in, he had his own wagon full of nutrition that he gave to my family and was like, we're going to need all of this. And like, he was amazing.
that's
But
great.
he videotaped me going up that hill, and he's like going next to me, and he's like, Andy, what are we doing right now? And the only response I gave was, dying. And I'm like, I didn't even know I had been in that park before. That I go swimming there sometimes and ride my bike in that park, Island Lake State Park, and I had no idea that there was a sand dune like that there.
I bet you they could have gone around it. Honestly, come
The
on.
only saving grace about that was on the other side of it, they had a really great aid station that
They
had like
did.
breakfast food. It was like
Yes.
pancakes and
Yep.
syrup and that
Yep.
was the only saving grace about that hill was that you had to cross a parking lot before you got to the aid station. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have heard all about it from me.
Yeah. That the pancakes, that's where I got my pancakes that morning, and they were the best thing I'd ever eaten. They were so fantastic.
Uh,
So just ahead of me, well, I was kind of back and forth. I actually ended up passing this guy, but there was a guy and his pacer, and they were taking a nap under the tree. And
mm,
so we kind of passed him, and pretty soon I get to the next aid station, and he's there again. It was like the rabbit in the hare. How is he getting past me and I'm not seeing him pass me? It was so bizarre, and he was always taking a nap. And
yeah,
do you remember? Did you ever see
I'm
that guy?
pretty sure I saw those exact same guys. Yeah, yeah, it was
So
crazy.
it was, and so Ken has a video of me leaving one of the aid stations. I had ramen noodles in a baggie that they had given me, which was the best invention ever. Was these ramen noodles, and I was complaining. I'm like, look, yeah, there he is, taking a nap again, and I was just in disgust walking out of that aid station. I was like, I couldn't believe, how did he get there before me? Would never see him pass me.
So this is the thing. I passed them, and they were laying on the side of the trail taking a dirt nap. Both
Yeah,
of them. And his pacer kind of like smiled up at us as we ran by, and then they come flying past us after that, like 10 minutes later. And
you must not recognize him from the back.
how did they get so going so fast? I actually took that and used it at my next race. I went so at Indiana Trail. You know, I was feeling really good until about mile like 85-ish, 80-ish. And I was running the whole way. And right around 80 to 85, I started really slowing down. Body was kind of tightening up and I was getting pretty groggy. Caffeine wasn't really helping at that point or anything. And at 86 and a half, mile 80, no, sorry, mile 91, there's an aid station that like your crew can all be at, and we usually set up like a pop-up tent there and have a bunch of stuff and everything. And I told my pacer, I was like, all right, I want to take a 10-minute nap. And he said, okay. And I said, but only 10 minutes, just only let me sleep for 10 minutes. And it's probably 3 a.m. at that point, 4 a.m. And I sat down in the chair. I told my wife, I'm sleeping for 10 minutes and then I will leave. You don't have, like, I was expecting pushback from her, like, no, you're not allowed to sleep. You got to keep going. And she said, okay, I'll wake you up in 10 minutes. And they gave me this huge blanket that I have. I wrapped in it. I sat in a bag chair and I was out immediately.
Yeah.
I woke up 10 minutes later and stood up and started rolling. I was cold, obviously, because it was October. I grabbed some hot food and hit the trail. I felt brand new. It was amazing. My legs were loose again. I was able to start, picking up again and start going. I ran the last 2 miles of that race at, I want to say, like 10-minute pace.
Wow.
And I'm a firm believer now in the 10-minute power nap in the middle of the night during 100 now. I'm willing to lose 10 minutes so that my body feels that good again.
Yeah. Wow. That's
So
amazing.
so I know you saw him sleeping on the side of the road and stuff like that, but don't knock it until you try it, because that one was that I took that and I was like, maybe sleeping for 10 minutes isn't a bad thing. And I tried it and it worked really well.
I think they did it like every 20 miles,
Oh yeah.
honestly, because they were always sleeping.
I want to say when I saw him, I want to say we were only like 5 miles from the finish line.
Oh,
And I was like,
wow.
"You're taking a nap now? We're almost there."
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. He came in just ahead of you too, didn't he?
yeah.
Because I finished before him too, and which surprised me. And then I think was he alone, because I think his pacer fell back. I think his
He,
pacer got sick or something, and
his
he
pace is,
finished.
so they were together when we saw him, and they passed me.
Mm,
Um, but I don't know. I didn't see them after. I finished that race. I don't know if you remember this. I finished that race. They had like food and stuff in crock pots afterwards.
mm-hmm.
Um, I got a bowl of chili mac and sat in a bag chair and had my feet up on a folding chair, and I passed out. I fell asleep like immediately. Um, so I'm just sitting there, and they're announcing finishers coming across the line 10 feet away from me, and I'm sleeping in this chair
I think I was
right
gone
there
by
with
then.
with a bowl of chili mac
That's
on my
awesome.
stomach. So, um,
Yeah. I I think I was gone by then. I waited until you came in, and then we
I
both.
remember seeing you at the finish line, giving you a
Yeah.
hug and everything.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, I gotta wait for. I had asked, did Andy get in? Did Andy get in? And they said no, but he's at such and such a. And I went, all right, I want to wait for Andy to get in. So
there you
yeah.
go.
So
Yeah.
then, in at Wolverine, I took pancakes. As
Mm.
I said, we're making pancakes. I bought this little heater that plugs into the car, and I had warm pancakes that my crew had for me. It was like magic. That was the best
Uh,
thing ever for me.
so are pancakes your, like your secret weapon now during races? You break
I
them out when things get hard?
I think that's going to be forever my secret weapon. Yeah,
Okay.
because when I got to that mile 80 aid station in the morning after that stupid sand dune, and they had pancakes, I'm like, this is the best food I've ever eaten. And I'm like, from now on, it's pancakes. And so I
Yeah.
experimented with some different, like I put oatmeal in them and things like that and some blueberries and to kind of see what works, what I liked and what I didn't like. And I practiced with them, and I honestly don't care as long as it's a pancake. I'm golden. That was just great. So,
Nice.
all right. So you've got a couple more races. You're going to do a lot of pacing. You've got a road marathon. Anything else you want to let the audience know that you've got going on
I
that we can
started
start?
entering the lottery for Western States. Just started
Wow.
entering the lottery for it. We'll see if I ever get into it. I mean, it's so crazy now
Yeah.
how many tickets you need to actually get an entrance.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a, if that ever happens, that'll be really cool. But I'm not counting on it, kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
If that happens, I'll pace you
There you go.
because I'll never get in. I don't think I would want to try to finish that one, but
My only concerns about that is the heat. I don't do well in hot weather, and
really,
so
it's not the 14,000 altitude.
I don't think so. I don't know.
That's
I've
my
never really done
concern.
anything like that one yet. So,
Yeah. Well, so now this year, when I finish Huron, you have to have 4 100 milers under your belt to register for Badwater. So
oh,
I might try to get into Badwater.
okay, all
Yeah.
right,
So that's more up my alley, the heat
okay.
versus the mountains.
I'm more than happy to do some hiking rather than sweating.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard it's even miserable for the crew because you can't keep the car cool enough, going along. Yeah.
Well, that was
That's,
the first year at Indiana Trail when it was rainy and cold the entire time. My wife and my parents were questioning me afterwards, like, "Are we going to do these more? And like, do we really want to do this?" Because they did not have a pleasant experience
yeah.
either.
Yeah. For
So,
sure. All right. Any words of wisdom or bad advice that you'd like to give the people that are listening? Because
just
clearly you give bad advice. That's why I did a second 100.
yeah, I mean, words of wisdom. Oh, that's tough. I don't know. I'll say this. And I've said this before to a couple of my friends, and one of my friends, his wife, who is a prolific writer and blogger and stuff, took it and kind of turned it into something else, which was really cool. But I'm pretty. I always believe that everyone has a superpower. You just kind of try and find what it is. Um, I've always said that mine is the ability to kind of recover quickly. I can go out and on a physical standpoint, do a really hard effort and be fresh the next day, kind of a thing. It's
Cool.
just something that I've always been able to do, and I think that's why that 10-minute power nap during Indiana Trail has really turned on in terms of me understanding like I can take 10 minutes and really turn things around. But I really do think that everyone has kind of that superpower, and what my friend's wife kind of figured out for me was if you surround yourself with the right people and with the right tools, you can embrace what that superpower is to do the things that you want to do. And so, um, whether that's ultras or things like that, for me, I can recover quickly, but if I don't have the people there to support me in recovering while I'm doing these races, then I'm not going to finish. And everything like that, if I don't have the resources to train for it and everything, then it's not going to happen. And so everyone has that superpower, but figuring out how to supplement it with the things that maybe you don't have, especially by using the resources or the human resources you have around you, like the people, that's a huge thing. I think, especially for this world. And part of why I transitioned to ultras instead of Ironmans was Ironmans were turning into an individual sport for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I would agree with that for sure. Just
and
as a whole.
yeah, and the ultra running community is just the exact opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get people angry at volunteers at aid stations because they didn't hand them the right bottle and stuff like you do at the Ironman community anymore.
Yeah.
Um, at the ultra community, you have people who are actively apologizing to volunteers for the things that they're saying to them and doing to them.
Or
And
I'm
so
so sorry I stink as you're adjusting my pack for me.
I'm sorry about the state of my feet. Can you pop this blister for me? And so and I don't think this just stays in the ultra endurance world. I think everyone has a superpower that can go past that, and embracing it with the people that are around you is key. Running can be very, very lonely and individual at times, but you only get to have those moments of solitude that are really good for things like self-reflection and everything like that. You only get that if you have the support around you to be able to get to that point. So that's kind of the words of wisdom. Bad advice, I have plenty of that. Oreos, Swiss rolls, Mike and Ike's out on the course. Those are all great things to eat if you want some bad
Mountain
advice.
Dew.
Yeah, Mountain Dew. Oh my gosh, I always joke before races. I look like some teenager that's going on a video game bender for the weekend at the grocery store because I'm picking up Swiss rolls and bags of chips and pop and all this candy and everything like that. I look like I'm about to have a hardcore weekend of video gaming, but I'm actually going out to run 100 miles or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, not as an endurance athlete. Actually, that's probably what endurance athlete diets look like at a race. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's been so fun catching up with you and hearing about your life story of running. I really, really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you again for remembering me. I mean, it was almost 8 months after we met each other that you were able to contact me and say, "Hey, were you still interested in talking?" Kind of a thing. So
Yeah. Well, I wanted to give
um,
you time to finish all your disasters.
there you go. So and then hopefully I see you at Huron again if you're there and
Yeah,
and I'm crewing.
absolutely. I look forward to that. Thanks again, Andy.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to that episode. I bet you had as many laughs as we did. We had a few more off air. Andy's a great guy. So if you have heard of any of those races and you want to go out and cheer anybody on, and especially Andy or I, we would greatly appreciate that too. Remember to give me 5 stars, follow me on all the socials, reach out to me if you'd like to be on the podcast. I do have some room for that for sure. And thanks again. We'll talk soon.